Hi everyone, it's Liam here from Rating the Races. So we have posted the handicap changes and suggested targets for the hurdlers and chasers, but we're also going to record videos just explaining them a bit further. You only get 280 characters, I think it is, on Twitter, so I can explain it a little bit further in videos. So we'll start off with West Cork, who's dropped £5 to 134 after finishing a well-beaten 4 for 5 over 2 mile at Kelso. Now that means he's down to a mark of 134, which is £7, not £6 as my tweet actually says, £7 lower than when fourth in the county hurdle last year behind State Man, First Street and Colonel Mustard. Now what you could suggest there is, okay, well, they go straight for Cheltenham and go straight to the county hurdle. It's obviously possible, he could miss out. 134 was actually bottom weight to get in last year. But also it's possible that they could still bump into something. You know, if State Man had run in it and West Cork had run off 134 last year, you still would have suggested State Man would have been able to beat him. Just because State Man's was a future champion hurdle horse. So I think it's not worth Dan waiting, you know, and almost doing a Langer Dan with him and going, well, we'll go straight there, we're really well handicapped, because you could still bump into something. They probably thought Langer Dan was really well handicapped, and then he bumped into Galopin Deschamps. So what I've suggested is go back to Kelso. I know he ran terrible there. Did he run terrible, or was that the idea? Go back to Kelso for that More Battle Hurdle. The More Battle Hurdle itself is worth decent prize money. If we actually click on this, we'll see there's a total prize fund of 100 grand for the More Battle Hurdle. Plus, it's the bonus race. So if you win that and then go and win at the Cheltenham Festival, you win a bonus. That's where I think they should go, for the More Battle. If you win it, great. You've got a horse who's back in form going into Cheltenham. If you don't win it, you wouldn't have won the county hurdle. You know, would you really back a horse, or would you really be confident of a horse going to the county hurdle off the back of pulled up, 4 for 5, beaten 14 lengths by Dance with the Wind? Probably not. Would you fancy a horse going for the county off the back of winning a More Battle Hurdle at Kelso and looking like he's found his form again? Absolutely. So that's where I think they should go with West Cork, rather than straight to the county hurdle. Yes, you would carry a penalty in the county if he won the More Battle, but it'd be worth it because you've won some prize money and you've got your horse back in form. The second one I wanted to talk about was 50 Ball. He dropped £2 to 126, and I made a review video and said in that video that I think the ride on 50 Ball was wrong. They shouldn't have gone forward, and it didn't work. I think they'll change tactics next time and probably track the leaders rather than trying to make all the running. And I just wonder whether, now down to a mark of 126, whether the Imperial Cup is tempting. It's decent prize money to obviously win the Imperial Cup. It's got a total prize fund of 100 grand as well, just like the More Battle Hurdle. And they can run up with the pace rather than making all. You know, they don't need to lead, but sit just behind the leader. And they'll know he'll stay up that Sandown hill. He has got good form at Sandown. He's finished second there before, behind West to the Edge, or West to the Bridge, for Dan Skelton. Yeah, so I quite like 50 Ball at Sandown. Obviously, if they decide that's not the race for him, this would be a race for him. A 2 mile 3 at Sandown. I think this is in April. And I'd totally, you know, be fully confident of a big run from 50 Ball in that race if they don't end up in the Imperial Cup, which I think is worth taking a chance on, to be honest. Moving on to Party Business, for Ian Williams, he's run in 2 Potemps qualifiers recently and failed to qualify from both, which would be disappointing, I'm sure, for Ian and the team. Now, he could sneak in at the bottom of the Coral Cup handicap still, where last year he finished 5th, staying on Never Nearer in the Martin Pipe, and you would imagine that could be something he does again at Cheltenham in the Coral Cup, unless they go fast enough. They would have to go really fast for him to be finishing strongly. If he did run in the Coral Cup and disappointed, he could drop another couple of pounds. You know, maybe he turns up off, drops to 135. Now that would mean, I'm just double checking, that would mean off 135 he would be just £3 higher than when winning the handicap at Aintree. This one, he won this race at Aintree last year, beating I Liked Way You're Thinking, with them 12 lengths clear of Mill Green and another 4 clear of Beauport. Obviously, Mill Green's going back for that Temps final, and Beauport has since done quite well over fences. So I just think that running in the Coral Cup might not be a bad idea. He might run a nice race, and if he doesn't, he might well drop another couple of pounds, and that would give him a great chance back at Aintree in April. The final horse I wanted to talk about is for the hurdlers is Front View. He's dropped £3 down to 127, and he looks very well handicapped now, especially on some of his previous form with Joseph O'Brien. Now, his first run for John Joe O'Neill wasn't that bad. He was only beaten 7.5 lengths at Cheltenham over 2 mile before. I don't think he stays any further than 2 mile. He disappointed over 2 mile 3 when sent off 4-1 over 2 mile 3. Well, there is this lucrative handicap back at Fairyhouse, which I wonder whether John Joe might be tempted to go over there with him. JP won it last year with Glan, and if you look at the form of the race, Glan, La Prima Donna, Haya, and He's a Hardy Bloke, none of these are that good, really. And with that in mind, you know, Front View would have a huge chance, I think, in the Rybo Handicap Hurdle at Fairyhouse, a course that he has actually won. He won a beginner's chase here back in 2020 for Joseph O'Brien, over 2 miles. So he does have some form at Fairyhouse. He then also unseated in the Dan and Joan Moore Memorial Handicap Chase over 2 mile. He went off 6-1 that day for Joseph O'Brien. So similar type of race, back over hurdles. Yeah, I know John Joe would have to go over to Ireland, but I think it's worth going to Ireland for, and I think that would be a good race for him. For 50 grand, I mean, the race he ran in last time was worth 10 grand to the winner. And before that, when he ran at Cheltenham, 15 grand. I mean, the prize money it's really worth going for, in my opinion. And think it's worth a trip over for Front View and John Joe O'Neill. So there's my thoughts for the hurdlers. I think probably West Cork is the one that I'd be most tempted to go back to Kelso, try and win that more battle, and see if they can turn up to Cheltenham with a penalty instead of turning up to Cheltenham, bang out a form.